Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. HDM here, and in this video we're talking about a massive change coming to the Elder Scrolls Online that not a lot of people are talking about, and that is a complete overhaul of the armor passives in the game coming in Update 31, the Waking Flame DLC, which is releasing in just a few days on PC, Mac, Stadia, and in a couple more weeks on consoles. So let's dive right into this massive update and see how this is going to change your build. All right, everybody, we are back on the public test server where I've been the past several weeks checking out Update 31, also known as the Waking Flame DLC. In this video, we'll be checking out the upcoming armor changes, which are a pretty big deal. This is definitely going to change a lot of the metas in terms of endgame builds and how they perform. Now, I did go ahead and update our Ultimate Armor Guide over at my website, hacktheminotaur.com. All of these changes will be listed there in case you want to reference these later. We have every single armor bonus, penalty, all the new updated passives, active skills. We even talk about how to best level up your armor skill lines. So if you're interested in that, definitely go check it out. It is now up to date for Waking Flame, as I mentioned. I'll have a link for that down in the description. But let's just go ahead and check out these armor changes, starting with light armor. Now, the armor bonuses and penalties have not changed. They kept these the same. So light armor still has bonuses for each piece that you wear. It still has penalties for each piece that you wear. That is not changing. But when we look at some of the passives here, things are definitely looking different. Grace has remained the same. This still reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you. It also reduces your cost of sprint. Evocation is still very good for Magicka recovery and Magicka cost reduction. Spell warding is still giving you spell resistance. But when we check out our last two passes, starting with Prodigy, this is where things have been updated. So Prodigy now increases your weapon and spell critical rating by 219 for each piece of light armor equipped. So check this out, it is quite a bit different. Previously, it was just spell critical. Now it's giving you both weapon and spell critical. We'll see how this changes the medium armor skill line in just a minute. But basically, bottom line here is that you're getting both forms of crit chance for wearing light armor through the Prodigy passive. Now, in addition to this change, which again, it's huge, especially when we start to look at medium armor, Concentration also has a similar update here. Instead of spell penetration only, this now increases both your physical and spell penetration by 939 for each piece of light armor worn. So this is now the penetration passive, and it's buffing both physical and spell pen. Pretty interesting change. We never had physical penetration as part of any of the armor skill lines. Now you can get it directly from wearing light armor. And again, the thing to note about these two, these used to be you had to wear 5 pieces to unlock this passive. It's no longer the case, so you can get some bonus just from wearing 1 piece of light armor. We'll talk about this in a little bit where we talk about some possible build ideas, mixing different pieces depending on what you want to do in the game. But let's go ahead and hop over to medium armor next and see how this has changed. Again, bonuses didn't change this patch. Those are the same. Dexterity did see a change though. So in the past, this has given us that 219 critical chance, that weapon critical. As we saw, that was now dumped over into the Prodigy passive. So what does Dexterity do now? Well, it's going to increase your critical damage. Okay, not your crit chance, but your crit damage. And also your critical healing. That's going to be increased by 2% for every piece of medium armor equipped. So bonus crit damage, bonus crit healing per medium armor piece. If we keep on moving down, Windwalker is still very effective. This is still your stam recovery and stamina cost reduction passive. Improved Sneak has not changed, but check out Agility. This is another very big change. This now increases your weapon and spell damage by 2% for each piece of medium armor worn. That's instead of just the weapon damage. And then Athletics, I don't think this has changed either. This is still increased movement speed of sprint and reduced cost of roll dodge. So the two major changes for medium armor, again, Dexterity is now critical damage and critical healing. Agility is now weapon and spell damage combined. So what does this mean for a medium armor build? Well, you're going to have less critical chance overall. Now, in terms of DPS, I've seen different reports of this. Some people say that the DPS is similar because you have increased critical damage. That's going to stack with other things like major, minor force. So the overall DPS is probably going to be fairly similar, but you may need to change your setup. For example, you might need to run Thief Mundus if you're running Shadow previously. You do have a lot of crit damage now through medium armor. that could possibly replace the Shadow Mundus, and you would just use the Thief to make up that extra lost crit chance from the Dexterity passive. When it comes to agility, I don't think this will affect medium armor builds very much, but you could consider maybe on the Magicka DPS to run some additional pieces of medium armor for the extra spell damage. Again, that's not a buff that light armor builds or Magicka builds have ever had. They've never had spell damage increased through armor passives, so that is now an option for you if you're interested in mixing and matching your armor weights. We'll talk about that more in a second. Just to show you the heavy armor skill line, this hasn't changed at all. You still have the same heavy armor bonuses and penalties. Resolve still gives you the physical and spell resist. Constitution still gives you the health recovery and the sustain. Juggernaut is still max health. Revitalize is still the increased magicka or stamina from heavy attacks. And then Rapid Mending is still the increased healing received. So no updates here in the heavy armor skill line, just in case you're curious about that. So in terms of how your build might change, I have a few examples of this over on the website. So again, I'll have the link for our complete armor guide in the description if you want to check that out. But just generally speaking, obviously if you're like a tank build, heavy armor, not a lot has changed from you. You're probably still going to run 5, 6, 7 pieces of heavy armor. 5, 1, 1, like 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium. Still a very viable option. From the Undaunted passive, those have not changed. We still have Undaunted Metal, giving us 2% health, stamina, and magicka per type of armor equipped. I think the big changes really come into play when we're talking about stamina DPS, magicka DPS, and then hybrid builds. So for a magicka DPS, you have some additional options. Your light armor passives are still giving you what you had before, which is spell critical and spell penetration. But now, like we talked about, you can consider running a couple pieces of medium for more spell damage. Or if you want to run dexterity, you could get more critical damage and critical healing for your magicka build. Now, does this mean that magicka builds are going to suddenly have to wear full medium? No, not at all. I mean, you still have really good magicka-based passives in the light armor skill line. Talking specifically about evocation, you're not going to want to drop too many light armor pieces because you still want the magicka recovery and you still want the magicka cost reduction. But you could maybe run, 5 light, 2 medium, 4 light, 3 medium, something like that, where you're getting some bonus spell damage that you've never had access to, plus the increased crit damage and crit healing. Now for medium armor builds, on the DPS side, we kind of talked about this. You're not going to have the crit chance, so I think checking out the Thief Mundus, you're not going to have the crit chance anymore, so I think moving to the Thief Mundus pretty consistently for most stamina DPS builds, that's going to be a thing next patch. But you also might want to consider running some pieces of light armor. Why? Well, you do get the increased critical chance, a little bit there, but mainly for the increased physical penetration. Physical penetration is a new buff for the armor skills. We never had this. Medium armor didn't have anything like this. So think about wearing maybe 2, even 3 pieces of light armor, because 939 for just 1 piece of light, that's a pretty good passive bonus that can stack up easily. And for the type of content where maybe your group is not min-maxed and you're not reaching that penetration cap, this is another way where you can get more penetration on your stamina DPS build to help reach that cap. Now, I do want to talk briefly about hybrid builds. If you've been checking out my channel lately, you've seen that I am updating some of my hybrids for the Waking Flame DLC. And one of the big reasons for that is these updated passives. I mean, they are very good for hybrids. If we look at medium armor, for example, running some pieces of medium armor gives my build both weapon and spell damage, which is exactly what I need for a hybrid build. I want those values equal if possible, and I want them as high as possible. So running medium armor pieces is really a good option for that. This is good timing too, due to the changes with Pelinal. It used to be you'd have to run Pelinal with a medium armor build due to this agility passive. It would buff then your spell damage by an equal amount. Well, now you don't even have to do that really, because you're getting the extra spell damage built in to wearing medium armor. So it kind of works out. And then in light armor, I'm also a fan of running some light armor pieces on my hybrid because you get the extra crit chance, both weapon and spell critical, and you get the extra penetration, both physical and spell pen. So what I'm running on my hybrids now is usually 1 piece of heavy, 3 pieces of medium, and 3 pieces of light. That way I'm getting all of these juicy passives. I'm getting some of them. I'm getting the extra crit chance, I'm getting the extra penetration, I'm getting extra weapon and spell damage, I'm getting extra crit damage, extra crit healing, getting a lot of bonuses. Plus, since I'm using all 3 armor weights, I'm getting the max amount of stats from Undaunted Metal, getting 6% bonus max health, stamina, and magicka all in one. So think about that if you're interested in a hybrid setup. 3 light, 3 medium, 1 heavy. I think that's pretty powerful. But there you go. That's everything you need to know about the changes to armor passives coming in Update 31. Now, of course, I'm curious what you all think about this. Let us know down in the comments section. Will you be changing up your build to account for these new passives? How are you going to change it? Really curious to see what ideas you have. As always, if you liked this video or you found it informative, don't forget to crush that like button. Make sure to check out that written guide in the description. And thanks so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.